The other thing to know about this is it is kind of general to all majors. So I'm gonna take some time as we go through. If there's some specific information that you should know about your major, or if I'm gonna refer you to somebody else, I'll try and let you know. But just so you know, this, we have all different majors in here, so that's kind of what the target is for this, okay? So I'm really looking forward to chatting with you about all of this. Just to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Ashley Rose. As Mary mentioned, I am the director of the Office of Internships and Cooperative Programs here at FGCU. And we have kind of an interesting structure when it comes to internships. So you may have somebody who's sort of like an internship coordinator within your academic department or program. My office is kind of the central hub for all of those people. I really have a couple different purposes in my job, and you can see I've listed some of them there. So I do teach internship courses. I don't teach any internship courses in the major anymore. I used to. But there is a university-wide internship course that we'll talk a little bit more about farther down the line, but it's called professional internship or cooperative internship. So any student who wants to take an internship class to earn credit towards your degree that does not have one in their academic program, you can take a class with me. So we welcome all majors. We also serve as an internship resource for quite a few different people on campus. So while you may have an internship contact within your department, we actually work with students from all majors, we work with employers across the board, and we work with faculty and staff to serve as a resource for anything internship related. So we create all kinds of activities, we do a lot of research, we're just pretty much here for anything you can think of that has to do with internships for everybody, okay? And the last thing that we take very seriously in our office is we want to connect you with opportunities. So we work with employers a lot. Eagle Career Link is housed in our department, and really a whole bunch of what we do is making sure that employers know how awesome our students are, so they're excited to come and hire you. We also give them the tools to do that, and then also give you the tools to find those employers and those opportunities. So we really serve as a central hub, and that will hopefully be a little bit clearer as we go through, okay? So I want to start today off by really going down to the basics, and that is, what is an internship? So internships can sometimes get a really interesting, sometimes bad rap, right? We see them in the media. I know there's been some movies about them where it really comes off as more of an experience where someone might be grabbing coffee for the entire office, and we see some funny scenes where they're spilling it all down their suit and that kind of stuff, right? Sometimes it can be given the perception it's about pushing paper or picking up dry cleaning. Well, those are really either a part-time job or sometimes a personal assistant, right? An internship is something entirely different than what we generally see in the media. It's more than a job, although you will have some job duties. Really what it comes down to is it's an opportunity to learn through experience. So an internship, first and foremost, is a learning experience for students who decide to participate, okay? It's a stepping stone to career success. The first bullet there is really there to remind you that this is kind of a finite experience, right? It's something that's not gonna last forever, and it really can be a stepping stone for you to kind of get a leg up and really as a foundation for you to jump off of into a little bit more of an experience, okay? So the main purpose here is for you to take what you've learned in the classroom out of the classroom and start to apply those knowledge, that skills and abilities that you've been learning out in the real world to get, you know, in a work environment. So this means that you should be doing hands-on projects that are considered meaningful to your workplace. And what that means is it's kind of core to their daily operations, to their overall mission. You should be getting a really substantial experience getting hands-on with some of the projects that they have going on, okay? A little bit different than just grabbing coffee, right? A big goal here is for you to develop skills out in that world of work, okay? So we're taking the knowledge, we're applying it to projects, and we're developing some skills, okay? Two big cornerstones of internships that I want you to remember is that it's supposed to be a mutually beneficial experience. So that means that what we want to do in the beginning of a learning experience is set some goals, and we get to do that with a supervisor. So that means that you're not just filling a role, you're not just given a list of tasks for you know, to benefit your employer. While you might do that, you also get the chance to to have some input on what your career goals are and what you want to get out of it, so that you and your employer can collaborate together to decide what it is this internship is going to entail. That really gives you the opportunity to tailor your experience and to work with your employer to make sure that this is what you want to get out of it as well. So both of you should be benefiting. The last one up here is to work under an experienced professional. This is a super important one in a lot of different ways, but as this is a learning experience, we want to make sure that you have somebody to learn from and to learn with. So another bad rap that internships get is maybe something along the lines of like free labor, right? If you have an unpaid intern, they can come in and they can do this job, and it's a lot cheaper than hiring somebody. That's not an internship, right? So I like to think of this, coming up with an example as we'll get some employers who every once in a while will say, I'm looking for a student to be an intern to do our social media. Well, the first question that we ask, and the first question that you should ask is, well, who currently does social media for your organization, right? And if they say no one, that's why we want an intern, that's a part-time job or someone they should contract hire, right? We want to make sure that there is somebody in the organization who's going to be your point person, who's going to kind of show you the ropes, right? We want to make sure they have experience in the field in which you're going to intern, okay? So that's kind of very, very basic, what we should be classifying as an internship experience, okay? A foundation for you. You get to apply what you've learned in the classroom. You're doing hands-on projects and developing skills. You're able to set goals with your employer, and you're going to work under an experienced professional, okay? That sounds like a really awesome experience to me. Something else we need to talk about, though, especially at FGCU, is the difference between an academic and a non-academic experience. I like to throw this in here because I do get a lot of questions about internship courses and what does that mean and how do I, get credit or get my internship to count for Soren 4, that kind of stuff, okay? So you can actually earn academic credit by doing an internship. And this is, I believe, one of the biggest perks of, having this opportunity here is that you can go out and get this real world experience, do those hands-on projects, and make progress towards your degree at the same time, okay? So an academic internship really means that you're taking a course alongside your internship. So they're supplemental to each other, okay? And you're gonna earn credit for it just as you would with any other class while you're interning. So it does count towards graduation, and there's a couple different ways that you can do that. There are certain majors on campus that require an academic internship to graduate. So you can find out more about that by looking at your degree works. It'll be in your required courses in the major, but you would have to do it to earn that degree, okay? You can sometimes get upper level credit or elective credit or restricted electives as well. So if you're in a major that doesn't necessarily have a required internship, check your restricted electives. That's that list of classes that you get to choose from to help satisfy your degree, right? Or check with an advisor or your academic catalog to see if you're gonna have some elective credit, because what's really nice about internship classes is they're often variable credit. Mine is 1 to 9 credits. So you can take the class for 3 credits, like any of your other regular classes. You can take 1 credit, you can take 5 credits, whatever it is that you need to meet that 120. This is a really flexible course for you to kind of meet that without paying extra tuition for your credit hours, okay? A big perk about doing an academic internship, besides making progress towards your degree, is that it's recorded on your transcript. So if you ever have an employer or grad school or something that's asking for you to send in your official transcript, it's there, right? It's there that you earned credit, you got your grade, and so it's really kind of proof, right? Which is great. So when I'm talking about an internship class, as I mentioned, I get a lot of questions about, well, how does that even work, right? So just a little bit about what that might look like. If you're going to take a class, you do need to get approval from somebody, and basically that's just approving your internship. So we're kind of vetting it a little bit, making sure that it meets those standards that I started mentioning on the basics of internships, okay? So we'll want to figure out who your contact person is for that. It is registered with the university, just like any other classes, okay? You'll register, it'll be on your schedule, you'll pay tuition for the number of credit hours, okay? And really what ends up happening in most internship classes are the following, I guess, 4 things, okay? Your instructor is gonna try and provide you with structure and feedback. So when I say that, for instance, in my class, we have an assignment where you have to sit down with your employer at the beginning and set those learning objectives and set those goals, and then talk about how you're going to meet those goals. So really easy conversation, one I would hope you would have anyway, but it does provide a little bit of structure, okay? Same thing with getting some feedback. So this is your excuse to go out and ask, how am I doing? Can you fill out this feedback form so that you can usually halfway through figure out what you're doing well and what you might need to maybe course correct or pivot a little bit, right? What you can improve on. And then at the end, you're going to get another evaluation from your supervisor. And if it's awesome, it's something that can go into a portfolio and really back up your skills, your knowledge, your abilities later down the line, okay? There's another piece of it where these classes will really kind of facilitate growth and reflection. So in my classes, I have 3 different reflection papers and there's different questions for each. What's great, no wrong answers, right? But it's really prompting you to think deeply about the experience that you're having to make sure that you get the most out of it, okay? The next one is emphasizing career preparedness. So you may, depending on your department or who your instructor is, have some activities such as turning in a resume for review, maybe doing a mock interview with Career Development Services, who's hosting this workshop, right? You know, maybe write a cover letter, that kind of stuff, so that you are more prepared to go out and market yourself to get a job later. And then of course, to offer, you know, a guide and a resource. So the number one thing that I always tell students in my internship classes is if you're having any problems, if you have questions, concerns, right? If you want to bounce ideas off of me, you know, if you have something that's really upsetting or really awesome, if you just want to come get a big, you know, high five from me, well, virtual high five now, right? I'm here as a resource throughout your entire experience. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of what it would look like to take an internship class. And again, we'll want to figure out the right person for you to talk to depending on your major. My office is happy to help you with that, okay? Now, the other half of this is that you can do an internship without taking a class. So you do not have to do that in order to participate in an internship. And that's basically a non-academic internship, okay? There are a few things about unpaid internships that you might want to check in with our office or your internship coordinator to make sure you don't need to take academic credit, okay? But the other piece of it is you can take a non-academic internship and still get credit for your SOAR and 4 requirement. You'll just want to talk to our office about that, okay? So just a reminder for SOAR and 4, that's the tuition rebate program where you can get back your first year's tuition if you meet a couple if you do a couple different activities or need a couple different things along the way. An internship is one of those. If you do a non-academic internship, all I want you to take from this is make sure that you let our office know and we'll get you all set up on how to make sure that box gets checked, okay? So if you have any questions on academic internships or non-academic internships, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to go through that more with you if you want, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on what that would look like, okay? So now we're going to go into the why. Now, this is one of the things I could talk about, I mean, all day, right? So if you wouldn't mind going to the chat box really quick, I would love to hear some of your thoughts on what are some of the benefits of internships, right? There are major benefits to them, to both your academic program and your life. So I'm curious to see what you know so far as some of those benefits. So take just a second to do that. Awesome. Okay, I love that. Experience, preparation for future jobs, connections, opportunity. I love this. Let you see what you're doing on a day-to-day basis as a professional, upper hand for graduate school. Oh my gosh, you guys are so awesome. I love this. A preview for your career. That's a great one. Okay, you've got me so excited. Awesome answers, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up some of mine here, which some of you already have put in the chat, which is great. So going through them, the first one I have on here is gaining valuable work experience. And a lot of you touched on this in a couple different ways. Of course, we often think of, well, I'm getting some experience to put on my resume. Of course, this is going to be a resume builder and it's going to be awesome. It's going to look great on that document. But I also want you to think about this experience in a lot of other different ways, right? So I mentioned having a foundation to really jump off of, right? So now we're up here on our career journey, right? We're moving up. And we have something to stand on as we move forward. But this is also something you can talk about in a cover letter. And especially when you get into an interview situation, one of the most important things you can do in an interview is provide evidence to the answers that you're giving, to the skills that you say you have, right? So you're going to have those valuable stories to tell to back up as evidence as to what you can do for your employer. And they're going to be coming from a professional experience, right? An internship is absolutely a professional experience. So that's one. Love it. Okay. I love that somebody said a preview for your future career or trying out different careers. Exploring a career path is absolutely one of my favorite benefits to this, right? So you can study all day long, you can read a book, you can watch TV, you can read up on things, right? But actually going out and doing it is very, very different sometimes. And it really does give you that insider view into what it actually looks like to do this job, right? Someone else also said connections, and it is a little farther down on this list, that networking with professionals, but that gives you another insight into it where you're actually talking to people who do this on a daily basis, okay? So that's going to be really, really exciting. Now, what happens here sometimes is some students have awesome experiences, some students have great experiences, are good, right? And then there's some students who don't necessarily love their internships. And just to let you know, that's okay, right? You still get that first benefit of having valuable work experience, but you've also figured out what you don't like, or it starts to kind of bring your important values to the surface, right? So if you don't necessarily get along with a coworker or something like that, or there's an issue around that, that really tells you the type of people or environment that you want to work with. And you can then take that information forward and really use that as a lens or a filter when you're making career decisions, right? Same thing about the actual work you're doing. If you're like, well, I thought I was going to love this, but I'm not necessarily loving it as much as I thought. Now you have that information and you're not finding that out after graduation when you take a full-time job, okay? The next one on here is giving yourself a competitive edge. So we already talked about how you can use this in your resume, your cover letter, your interviews, that kind of thing. But think about this. If you don't have a required internship, okay, know that there are going to be some people who opt out of having that experience. If that's the case, you can have identical degrees, but having had a professional experience, especially like an internship when you graduate, is really going to make you a much more qualified candidate, right? As somebody with the exact same degree as you. Same thing if you do more than one. We're going to talk about timing. And yes, it is possible to do more than one internship before you graduate. Just imagine if you are able to have maybe two, right? This is going to give you, again, that foundation to step off of, and you're going to already have that base level experience within your field to make you much more marketable and much more competitive, okay? We've talked about skills. This is the number one way that you get a job, right? Is that you demonstrate that you have the skills an employer needs, okay? So that's going to be really important. I like to think of kind of 4 steps here, right? Where you identify the skills you have, you develop new skills, you have to be able to articulate them to an employer, and then you have to be able to demonstrate them. And this experience is going to help with all 4 of those steps, okay? Networking with professionals, we definitely talked about how you can get some insight into your field or the position or the industry that you're looking into. But just know that these connections that you make with professionals are going to have so many more benefits than that, right? You're going to have people to learn from. You're also going to have people to refer to. You're going to be top of mind should you do a great job and an opening comes up, right? So you're going to learn, you're going to meet a lot of people. And I'm not just talking about your coworkers, right? If you're going into an experience where you're going to have clients, where you're going to have customers, where you're going to just interact with people, you get to meet so many new people through this, and that's definitely a benefit to your career, okay? The last ones up here are some other big ones. So we have received compensation. There are paid internships out there, so you can, make that a goal of yours. Know that there are still some unpaid internships, and that's fine too, because compensation doesn't necessarily just come in the form of money, okay? While that's very helpful, usually, especially while you're in college, know that you're going to earn something called career capital as well. And that is any of those experiences that are going to pay off later down the line. So maybe you get a better job when you graduate. Maybe you get a higher starting salary when you graduate. Maybe you, next one down, transition into a job, right? Where your employer has just seen you really do an extended demonstration of how you do this job and work with this company. They may offer you a position full time. Same thing, other people might see what you're doing and you may get a job offer from another company or another organization as well. Okay. And the last one here is huge. Gaining confidence is massive when it comes to doing internships. One of the coolest parts about my job is I get to read the reflections that you all write in the classes. And the first ones usually have quite a few people saying, you know, I was nervous on my first day, or I'm still kind of figuring this out. I'm not exactly sure, you know, what I'm doing, or can I do this, or that kind of thing. And the last reflection always says, I feel much more confident in my abilities and my skills. I was so excited to be able to put what I've been learning into practice. And I really feel like I've stepped into my professionalism and I have a better idea of what's coming, okay? So I just want to give you, again, a background on what are some of the major benefits here, because if you can do an internship, by all means, please do an internship because it's really going to help. Okay? One more thing about the benefits here is I want to bring up this thing called the fresh grad dilemma, okay? And that is that a lot of college students, especially those who don't do experiential learning like internships, service learning, that kind of stuff, they get to graduation and they get into this cycle, this vicious cycle of I need experience to get a job, but I need a job to get experience. That's a really tough place to be, and know that something like internships are your way out of that because you've gotten experience as a student, okay? So that kind of wraps up with a little bow what we're talking about here. All right, now we're gonna go on to the where and the when, okay? So I get a lot of questions about where can I intern? Well, there are tons and tons of possibilities for you. So students are usually on, you know, one end of the spectrum or a little bit in the middle when it comes to, I know what I want to do, but I don't know who to intern with, or there's so many options out there for me, I don't even know what to start looking for or where I might want to intern, okay? So one thing that you can do is, if you don't necessarily have an idea what your ideal internship experience might be, is we can start with your career interests, of course. That's always the first question I ask. I say, tell me what you're thinking career-wise. What are you currently exploring? What experience would you like to get? Okay, so we want to start there, but we can also work our way backwards. So a couple questions that you can consider are, is there an industry I might want to explore? Okay, when I say industry, I'm kind of talking about the overall overall industry that you're thinking about, right? Which is a little bit different than, in my head, the field, right? So if there's a field, I tend to think of that as the work that you're doing, right? What you're actually doing. So a good example of this would be, we're gonna talk about PR in a second, where a field might be PR, but PR is one of those things that, you know, public relations is one of those things that you can do in so many industries. And this is a great way to marry some of the interests that you have. So if you know what field you want to be in, and let's say you have this other passion for, say, health and wellness, know that you can do something like public relations in a health and wellness field. And that goes for a lot of different majors and a lot of different careers, right? So we want to think of what we actually want to do and the environment or the topic that we really want to, you know, surround ourselves with, okay? Also think about the environment you want to work in. So you can think to yourself, do I want to be outside? Do I want to be inside? Do I want to work closely with a team? Do I want to be very independent, right? So we can think about all these different ways, you know, all these different environments that you might find yourself in, and we can start looking for those types of environments. Same thing with culture. Culture is a huge thing now in the career world. You know, you can think of some of these major corporations like Google or Amazon, right? And you can really see what type of culture they have. But know that even without nap pods and kitchens and color-coded snacks and games and all that kind of stuff, right? That every single place that you work will have a culture. And we want to know, do we want a collaborative culture? Do you know, what kind of place? You want a place that's a little more casual? Do you want something that's very buttoned up and serious, right? We can ask ourselves these questions. And then lastly, of course, location. So location can be the actual employer if you have one in mind, or it can be, is there another city that you would like to intern in? Is there another country that you would like to intern in? And yes, there are international internships, so know that you can go to another country and do one if you want, okay? So I like to start with these questions and think backwards. It kind of takes the pressure off of that whole, like, I have to find a job title problem, right? That's a really huge needle in a haystack problem, but we can break it down into a couple different things to think about, and that will help us kind of create our filter as we start to look for internship opportunities. Okay, so I want to give you an example. So these are all pictures of actual FGCU students in their internships. Okay, and you can see there's quite a few different experiences going on here. So as you look at these pictures, you can see they're wearing different things, they're in different environments, some are outside, some are inside, some are buttoned up, some are casual, right? So take a look at the feeling that you get out of the culture and the environment here. But know that there's a lot of different types of employers that you can work for. So this top one is a small business that's actually at Paragon Flight School. Amanda was outside all the time. She was working with people. She was taking photos, okay? You can work in a corporate environment. So we have Chris at Gartner, and at the top, this is a Publix corporate. We had somebody do social media at Publix. So those are two, okay, in the middle and the top here. And then over here, we have nonprofit or government. Okay, so this is Molly. She did an internship at the Lee County Domestic Animal Services. That was one of the most fun site visits I've ever done. It was really cool, right? And then we had somebody down here who was working for a professional organization. Okay, and then down over here, we have local affiliates. So know that we may have a local affiliate for some big company or organization. So for instance, this is when they were the Miracle, but now they're the Mighty Muscles, okay? Know that we have a minor league baseball team here that is affiliated with one of the major league baseball teams, okay? They have a ton of internships there too. And then lastly, another environment is an FGCU affiliated one. So this one right here that I said was with a professional organization, started in a class and turned into an internship. And then this one down here on the bottom is actually a group of students doing research and creating a documentary with one of our professors in the communication lab. They're in Puerto Rico doing an internship, okay? But what's really cool about this is not only can you kind of get an idea for the vibe or the culture or the environment, but every single one of these students was in the exact same major. So these are all communication students. And this I want you to think about as the world is really your oyster here. So an internship choice can be a really personal thing, and we can try and find an opportunity that really fits who you are, and you're not really stuck into one box because of the major that you chose, okay? So get creative in your thinking, and it's something that we can tailor to you, okay? All the same major, very different experiences. Okay, now on to the when question. This is actually largely up to you and your academic plan. So you'll definitely want to check in with an academic advisor about when a good time to intern would be, especially if you have a required internship. Know that junior and senior year is actually most common, but I do have students who intern earlier than that. And what that comes down to is, can I fit this in my academic plan? And do I feel like I'm ready to be a contributor? Do I feel like my professionalism is where it needs to be to go out, right? And this is really because employers do expect that contribution. So you need what I call an SKA foundation. That stands for skills, knowledge, and abilities. So you may find that there's a certain number of credit hours required before you can take an academic internship course. There may be some prerequisites or something like that. And that is usually to make sure that you have the foundational knowledge to take to your employer and really contribute in that field. Okay, but also know that even if you are not quite ready to enroll in an internship course, that we have plenty of students who do a non-academic internship before that. And I always recommend talking to your internship coordinator, because if you get an excellent internship opportunity, there may be a way we can make an exception or something like that. But again, it's case-by-case basis, and you'll want to talk to your internship contact. So even though you may not intern until junior or senior year, make sure that you plan ahead. So this is something, and at the end of this presentation, I have a lot of recommendations for you, but this is something that you want to think about ahead of time in terms of doing some career exploration, getting your job search materials up to date, right? Talking to the right people, that type of thing. But another thing that is really great about this is if you end up planning for, say, a junior year internship, okay, or maybe the summer between junior and senior year, once you finish that internship, you have already figured out what that experience is like, and you may be more motivated to go and get another internship your senior year. I actually have somebody, I'm working with somebody right now who I think is on her 4th internship, which is awesome. She's done an excellent job in all of them, but know that sometimes even if you find a paid internship, that can take the place of a part-time job that maybe is not in your field or industry, but you may have time for more than one. Sets you up to, be extremely marketable when you graduate. Okay, so you can plan ahead, and there are people on campus to help you do that. My office, career development services, or your internship coordinator in your department, plus your academic advisor are all people to talk to about this. Okay, and then lastly is the how. So another big question that I get is, I don't know where to start looking. Can you help me? And the answer is absolutely. I'm very happy to do that. Just to kind of organize this big process in your brain, I like to think of 3 main strategies to look for internships. Okay, the first one is what I call traditional methods, and we'll go through that. The second one is your network, and then the last one is called research and inquiry. So internships opportunities really are everywhere. We just have to know where to look. Okay, so we're going to go through each of these. The first one, traditional methods, is generally what we think of when we think of a job search. Okay, we look at job boards, we go to career fairs, maybe some information sessions. These are awesome, and there are people actually on this presentation right now who come to FGCU. This is their life's work, right? Every single morning we get up to help you find these opportunities and to create these opportunities for you. So know that you have tons of resources here as well as off campus to help you find opportunities. There is a limitation here, especially when it comes to a job board, and that is that it's limited to who, what is posted when and by who, right? So know that a job board or a career event is not the only place that you should be looking. However, they are incredibly helpful because they tend to bring opportunities to you, okay? Another benefit to them is it only takes seconds to see what's new. So Eagle Career Link, which I'll show you an example of in just a second, is our FGCU job board career management site. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do there. Employers post on it every single day. So it just takes a second for you to log in and see what's new. And that means that you always have the most up-to-date opportunities at your fingertips 24/7. Other job boards are the same, whether you can see on the bottom Indeed, LinkedIn, right? There's a lot of them that you can go on and take a look at. But that's why I always recommend keeping this in your arsenal of job or internship search tools, okay? Another thing that's great is you can often directly apply directly through the site. So you can actually do that on the Eagle Career Link. So to give you an example here, this is what it will look like when you log into Eagle Career Link. And you can go through our website to get there. You can go through Career Development Services. You can actually just Google FGCU Eagle Career Link and it'll come up. You sign in with your student email. I know we have some staff or some faculty on here too. You can also sign into this. And there's so many things you can do. So this is what you'll see when you first log in. The big things are, there's a big banner across the top that keeps you up to date on career events. So, over the summer, we had some virtual ones. We still have many more this semester, and you can find that link here. Okay, you'll see advertisements for upcoming events, like we have a career fair coming up in a few weeks, and then we have another one in October. You can see that kind of stuff. Below that banner, you're going to see what the system is kind of recommending that you look at, and you'll see if people in your major are interested in. So you're going to put in some of your information. It'll pull some of your personal information too, like your major, and then it can recommend some opportunities there. However, you don't have to just stop there, because if you look over here, this navigation bar has so many other things that you can do. So the first one to note is this one right here, jobs and internships. When you click this arrow, it's going to give you the opportunity to search for them. You can search by keyword, you can search by location, anything like that, absolutely. This is a good example right here. So we have a lot of our engineering students who are interested in internships, right? I didn't even filter just for internships. All I did was type in the word engineering in here, and these were the top 5 that came up at the time I did this search. It'll tell you the job title here. It'll tell you where, the company and the location. Okay, and then below that, it'll tell you what type of opportunity it is. So you'll see we have an entry-level full-time job. Here's an engineering internship that came up in Naples. The next one is another full-time job. Here's another internship. Here's another internship. And what's really great is that you can actually filter by opportunity type. So you can actually click something that says experiential learning, internship, cooperative, etc. And it'll just show you internships. So this is something you can see the drop-down menu is a little bit here, bigger here, but you can kind of see what's going on. You can see what you've applied for, because when you click on one of these, it'll tell you how to apply for it, either through this site or You may have some other directions from the employer you're looking at, okay? But what's really great too is you also can upload some of your documents here. So to apply through the site, you can upload specific resumes, you can upload different cover letters, writing samples, whatever they're asking for, and that allows you to apply through the site. The other thing that's great about this is that you can find those other forms of traditional methods, right? Career fairs, career events, info sessions, workshops, right? They all live under here if they're from FGCU, okay? Experiential learning is where you actually register and verify hours for both service learning. So maybe you've been in here before for service learning, right? Or internships. And then know that there's a whole bunch of other things you can do over here. There's a document library where there's a bunch of career resources. You can see the employers in the system. There's so much that you can do in here. And I definitely recommend checking this daily to see what's going on and what's been posted, what events you can go to, all of that, okay? The next method of searching for an internship that we have here is your network. And this is one that students often forget about or potentially don't know just how big your network is, okay? So for networking, you want to think about this a little bit differently than what we traditionally see. So a lot of times we might think of networking as a really awkward event where we're eating little snacks, right? And we have to shake hands with people and we're making small talk and it's like exhausting, right? While that could potentially be an experience that you have, and networking events can be very, very fun, if you think of it in terms of connecting with other people in order to further each other's interests, it becomes a lot less awkward, a lot lower stakes, right? Because anybody, you're all very good at connecting with other people, right? You all have friends, you all have family, you go to maybe an organization or a club on campus and you connect with people, you connect with your professors, you connect with people all day, right? And so if we think about it that way, this becomes a little bit easier, okay? And what you want to think about doing is establishing rapport and forming mutually beneficial relationships, okay? So the thing about the secret with networking is that it can't just be about what you want to get out of it, okay? It has to be about what can I do for you and what can we do for each other, okay? Really, you're going to end up gaining a lot of social and that career capital I talked about, right? Because you're going to have these contacts and maybe you're sharing something as simple as information, staying up to date. Maybe you're sharing job referrals. Maybe you are connecting somebody with someone else who's going to help further their career. There's so many different things that you can do here. The real challenge is maintaining and leveraging these connections. And what that really comes down to is you want to build it before you need it. First of all, people can smell desperation a mile away. But second of all, if you start networking now, before you need an internship, these are all going to be people that you can reach out to when the time comes. And if you've established that rapport, if you have that mutually beneficial relationship, if they trust you, they know you do good work, they know you're professional, these are people who could potentially offer you internships or refer you to somebody who could later down the line. So when we think about networking, we want to think about as connecting and knowing that even if this person can't do something for me right now, if I help them out, they're going to have my back when I most need it, okay? So the other question I get about networking is, but I don't have a network. Who do I start networking, right? You know that this W word had to be in here somewhere when we're talking about the who, what, where, why, when, right? So two things I want you to think about when it comes to your network and internships or your job search, okay? One is the strength of weak ties. So this is thinking about, yes, you know a lot of people, but remember that those people know a lot of people too. And sometimes those referrals and those weaker connections can be your key to getting an awesome internship opportunity, okay? Another thing to think about is this law of 250. Now this is a kind of a theory-ish from 2014, so we'll have to update this. But a master salesperson, somebody who is known as a great salesman, came up with this idea of the law of 250. And that is, he did a lot of research and he found out that most people know an average of 250 people, okay? That's a lot of people to start with. But if everybody knows 250 people, all of the 250 people you know also know 250 people. So that means that at your second level connections, you have a ton of people that you could potentially get referrals to or get connected to or an introduction, right? All of these people may be your weaker ties, but know that you can find a way to connect with them and potentially get internship opportunities out of it, okay? So where are all these people when we're talking about this huge number, okay? Know that there are 4 different types of networks, and I'm bringing this up so that you can get ideas of who you might want to start talking to about this, okay? Your first one is your individual network. I've already kind of started talking about this. Think of this as the people that you know personally, okay? So family, friends, classmates, yes, they all count, okay? We're talking about your professors, we're talking about your coworkers, people that you have a one-on-one relationship with, okay? And then we go out to the organizational level. And that means that even if you don't know somebody personally, sometimes if you are involved in the same organization, that offers you an opportunity, right? We can think of a professional organization for sure for your field, but also anytime you're really in more of a structured group. So your class, your major, okay? We can think of this as potentially fraternity and sorority life. This is an excellent example of how you can network within an organization. If you are on a rec league, if you're in student government, if you're in a club on campus, if you go to church, these are all organizations. And just by being a member of this organization, you have a direct connection to everyone else who's in it, even if you've never met them before, right? It's a lot easier to strike up a conversation when you have something in common to talk about, okay? Same thing with your community. Your community is a little bit different in that we all operate either on FGCU's campus as a community, in the greater community out in Fort Myers, maybe it's your hometown, right? But there are people that you might not know again personally, but that you run into all the time. Maybe you see the same person who is at the check stand at Publix. Maybe you see somebody who's on the same workout schedule as you as at the rec center, right? Those are people within your community that you can network with, right? It's easy to strike up a conversation with a friendly face. Or you might think of FGCU as your community. So you and I may have never met before, but just by being a part of the FGCU community, you're able to come and talk to me. You're able to come and talk to career services, to your professors, right? Even if you haven't met before. And then lastly, this is a huge one here, but know that there are virtual networks as well. This is going to be huge going forward, especially after what's happening in our world this year. But know places like LinkedIn, social media, even on websites, via email, these are ways that you can connect with people too. So I want you to think of all of these people as potential connections that you can help out and that might be able to help you out. And when it comes time to look for an internship, if you have a great relationship, feel free to reach out. I often tell people, if you've done a project before for an organization, if you've done service learning before for an organization, all of these things, right, can potentially turn into internship opportunities. You just have to know where to look and who to ask, okay? So now we're gonna move on to the third one, and that is research and inquiry. So if you don't find a posting or you don't have a connection, that doesn't mean that there's not an opportunity there, okay? No posting, no connection, no problem. So what you can do here is you can actually seek out or reach out to employers who do what you want to, and you can contact them about potential opportunities, okay? Social media, doing Google searches, company websites, even just driving around, looking around, right? These can all be ways to find ideas for companies you might want to work for, right? So I mentioned public relations earlier. If you decide to just go on social media and search public relations firms in the area, even if they don't have a posting, that doesn't mean that they don't want to be contacted or they couldn't, use an intern or help you develop an internship program. So if you find a name of somebody who works there, or if you can, can't find a name, you can just send out a general inquiry letter. This is kind of the next step. So think of an inquiry letter. It's kind of like a cover letter, right? You're introducing yourself. You're talking a little bit about what you can do for them, but also remember something along the lines of this sentence. I'm interested in whether you have any internships available, or if you would be willing to work with me to create one. Because that second one is an option too, and it often works out really well for students if they get to have input on the type of experience that they're helping to create. Okay, you can attach your resume to this letter, and there you go, right? I am happy to help look over these letters or help you write one. I know Career Development Services and all the advisors there would be happy to help you as well. So know that you have people who can kind of walk with you through this experience if you want to. But again, what it comes back to is if you can't find a posting and you don't have a connection, that doesn't mean there's not a potential opportunity there. Okay, I'll give you a quick example. I'm being mindful of time here. I'll give you a quick example. I had a student about a year and a half ago now who was a PR student, and he was really interested in working in craft beverages. Okay, he knew there were no postings. He didn't know anybody who worked in that industry. So he went on Facebook. He found 5 local places and shot out 5 emails and attached his resume. 2 didn't respond. 1 said no. 1 said, I'm interested. Let's talk about it. And the last one said, when can you start? So he just kind of looked up places he was interested in, sent it out, and he ended up with an internship that he absolutely loved. Okay. So just keep that in mind that that's an opportunity too. So those are my 3 ways, right? The traditional methods that we talked about, networking, using your network, and what I call research and inquiry, or reaching out to places that maybe don't have something posted. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up here before we get to some questions with what can you do in the meantime. So I mentioned earlier that you want to plan ahead, right? If you're thinking about getting an internship, you want to talk to people on campus about when might be a good time to do that. But in the meantime, there's a lot of things that you can be doing to set yourself up for success. So learning how to write a cover letter and a resume are great first steps. Okay, so you either want to create or update your resume. Again, Career Development Services is great for helping you with that. They'll also look over your cover letters if you want. Interviewing is something that you definitely want to practice ahead of time. And there are things that you can do called a mock interview. I'm happy to help. Again, Career Development Services can help with that, where we basically just role play you in an interview and you get some valuable feedback in a no stakes environment, right? You don't want the first time that you ever do an interview to be when you actually really, really want the job. You can practice ahead of time, and it helps, 1, kind of formulate and give you the skills, you know, to interview, but 2, it also helps calm the nerves that come along with interviewing. You'll want to research, right? Whether that's researching places that you might want to interview, whether that's learning more about your field or industry, you know, whether that's looking at job or internship postings to see what's out there, okay? Networking, yes, now, right? Because remember, it'll pay off later down the line when you are looking. Hone and articulate your skills, and then also now is a really good time to start your professional wardrobe. So if you don't have a lot of professional clothing right now, that might be something where maybe, you know, depending on where you shop or what you look into, maybe pick up some sales and kind of start to build your professional wardrobe, so that if you were to say get somebody to ask for your resume and say, hey, we'd love to interview you, or a career event pops up tomorrow that you're like, wow, this would be really good, you're ready to go. You have a go-to kind of outfit at least to start with, and then building your wardrobe so you have something to wear as you start to intern and go to work. Okay, and the last one is that you can meet with your internship coordinator. Again, if you don't know who that is, or if you even have one, you can definitely reach out to my office, Internships and Cooperative Programs, and we'll help you figure out who that is. But you don't have to wait until you have an internship or you're ready to start looking to meet, because a lot of us are very excited to talk to you and plan with you ahead of time. Okay, so that's kind of your checklist of things that you can be doing now to set yourself up for success later. Okay, so I see we have about 9 minutes left. So the last thing that I want to do is kind of open it up for questions. I've seen the chat box going nuts, which is really exciting to me. So if you have time to stick around, I'll answer some of those. Or just so you know, our office contact information is here. So if you need to go to class or something like that, or you think of a question later, by all means, please contact us. This is our email address, icp@fgcu.edu, and we are in a new location. We're in McTarnigan on the 2nd floor in Suite 229, so you can come in and we can answer some of your questions. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so that I can see some of you. And
thank you, Ashley. That was awesome.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we'll see if I put your link to your website on there, and Eagle Career Link, and ours as well, the Career Development Office. And we can go a little bit past 3. I kept the meeting on, so if you have more questions, but the students can feel free to go ahead.
Sure. All right. Let's see here. The first question that I see in the chat is this internship class offered during the summer? Okay, good question. So this is where we will want to check in with your internship coordinator. So it depends on your major. If you have a required internship class for your major, we'll definitely want to check in with the internship coordinator that you have, but most internship classes are offered during the summer. If your major or your program has a class that's not required for you to take, but they're not offering it during the summer, the COE 3948 or 4949 course that I teach is offered during the summer, so you can take that one as an elective instead if you need to. But yes, summer is definitely an opportunity for most of our programs. Good question. Next one that I see is, what do we do to register a non-academic internship with the university? So really all that comes down to is registering your internship on Eagle Career Link. So it's the exact same process as verifying your service learning hours. So you go into Eagle Career Link, you click on experiential learning, and you just input the information for the internship that you have there. Now, the thing that comes next though is that if you're not in a course, our office won't be prompted to send out the verification link to your supervisor. So that's the difference between us and career services, or excuse me, career service, service learning, that's what I meant to say, is that service learning goes out regularly. So when you input your hours, your supervisor will automatically get it within the next few weeks. Internships, we actually send those out ourselves. So if you want to get it hours verified and make sure that it's all together on Eagle Career Link, and just make sure that you contact our office so that we send that verification out. The other piece of it though is if it's a non-academic internship that you are hoping to get SOAR and 4 credit for, there's actually a survey on Eagle Career Link in the surveys and applications section where you can fill it out. Our office will get that. We'll do a little research and just check out what your internship opportunity was, and then we'll help you register it and get it verified. So you can do that survey, or you can go in and register it yourself and let us know that you want to get your hours verified so we can send that link out once you input those hours. Okay, let's see. All those great answers to my question about the benefits. Love it. Let's see. What you want to do, networking. Okay, here's the next one. Do you recommend we start with LinkedIn, Eagle Career Link, or something else to find internships? Another great question. I would say that because you are an FGCU student, I would say Eagle Career Link is a great first step, because every single employer who is registered on there and every single opportunity that's posted on there is because somebody wants to hire an FGCU student. So that gives you an upper hand where you know that they actually sought you out specifically, which is great. However, my bigger answer to this question is going to always be kind of a mixture or a cocktail of a bunch of different methods, right? So we did talk about those traditional methods. If you can pair going on job boards with checking out a career fair, that's going to be awesome. If you check a job board like Eagle Career Link, LinkedIn, Indeed regularly, and then mix that in with checking in with your network, which I should have mentioned can be something as simple as, you know, typing up a professional email and sending it out to some people you know, or it can be like going home on a break and seeing your best friend's parent and they ask you how's school going and you say, great, I'm starting to look for internships, right? That can open the door too, okay? So I would say kind of a mixture of all of these different things. LinkedIn is going to be something that you will want to do in our current climate too. So while I say start the job search with Eagle Career Link, you will definitely want to get on LinkedIn and start creating your profile. A lot of recruiters and companies had to go virtual with our current circumstances. So that's going to be a place that you're going to want to really kind of make sure you get all of your experience and your skills and that kind of stuff up there. That's another thing that Career Development Services can do is look over your LinkedIn profile, which is great, and start connecting with everybody that you know that you feel is a representation of who you are as a professional. I say that because there are some people out there who just kind of add everybody, but just know that your network is going to be a reflection of you too. So you want to add the people that you know and that you trust on on LinkedIn. Just remember too that when you're adding people, that does include your best friend, that does include the people in your sorority, that does include, you know, everybody that you've met, as long as, you know, you want to include them in your professional network. Even with that, one other little caveat, I tell people, I'm like, why don't you and your friends all get together, do your LinkedIn profiles, and then make sure that you're looking at each other's and give feedback, right? It's something that we all should be doing, but you can kind of crowdsource that feedback and then have it checked out by somebody who's a professional career advisor here on campus as well. So yeah, when searching, Eagle Career Link is great, but I would say add in a sprinkle of all of these things, and that's going to find you the best opportunities and have you exposed to more experiences. Great questions. I graduated in spring. Am I still able to contact you in your office for advice? I would be happy to help you, so feel free to do that.
You can also call the career office.
Yes.
The recent grads are welcome to make an appointment as well.
Yes, thank you for including that, Mary. Yeah, we are here for you, especially as a recent grad. Let's see. Oh, good question. If you plan on doing an internship earlier than junior or senior year, how do you know if you have the skills, knowledge, and abilities? This is a really, really great one. It's going to start with one, self-reflection, I think, but two, there are a lot of people on campus who are happy to talk to you about this. And it's also something that you can talk to your employer about too. So if you're worried that maybe you don't have the foundation, you can start to challenge yourself, right? Of going out and seeking out opportunities and networking with people and talking to people like career advisors on campus to really kind of take stock of where you're at and build on those. But I guarantee that you have something to offer. We just want to make sure that you feel comfortable and that your employer feels comfortable as well. But like I said earlier, know that many, many people on campus, many students on campus are interested in doing an internship a little bit earlier. And there are some employers that are also interested in that too. There's also a lot of great on-campus jobs that can have a similar type of experience, even if it's a part-time job or something like that. You can have a similar experience there, or you might use a part-time job to start building on those skills, knowledge, and abilities to help you jump into something like an internship as well. But that's something, if you want someone to talk to, your internship coordinator is a great contact. I'm happy to talk to you about that as well. That's an excellent question. Another question. So my office, the question is, what office are you a part of? So my office is the Office of Internships and Cooperative Programs. So we are our own program on campus. However, we are a part of the Department of Experiential Learning and Career Development. So there's 3 offices: Internships and Co-ops, which is mine again, Career Development Services, who is hosting this workshop, and then Service Learning and Civic Engagement. We're all in the same department. So you can find me in the Office of Internships and Cooperative Programs, but any of those other offices, we all communicate literally every day, and we're happy to help refer you or get you to where you need. Let's see. My major is forensic studies, and I would like to intern at Collier County Sheriff's Department. Is the course ethics in the criminal justice system required to be able to intern? So this is a really good example of a very specific program requirement. And you actually, as a forensic studies major, have an internship coordinator to talk to. So I'm happy to get you that information, but if you want to write down Miranda Martz, that's who you're going to talk to. She is the designated internship coordinator, and she'd be happy to look at the courses you've completed so far. And she's also great at connecting you. I know she has awesome connections at Collier County Sheriff's Department. So she would be able to get you referred to the right person there too. So Miranda Martz is going to be who you'll want to talk to. So many good questions. How do international internships work? This is a very, very big question, and one I'm happy to get more information to you about. But know that a lot of times it goes through our study abroad office, and also sometimes a program provider. So there are a lot of companies out there that set up international internships for students to do, just like a study abroad program would work, but you're interning instead of studying. So you'll likely have an application. They're actually one of the things that's a little frustrating about international internships through a program provider is sometimes there's a fee, but your experience is often priceless when you do that. So that's something to think about. But there are two offices between my office and then Matt Ryan in the study abroad office. We collaborate a lot on international internships. Also know this is very, very at the beginning of stages, but FGCU is having conversations about trying to make our own connections to have more international internships offered without a program provider to our students too, okay? So I'd be happy to talk more about that as we go. Email you specifically if we have any questions regarding internships with our major or is that our assigned advisors. So if you have, well, both I think is a good answer for this. So who should you talk to if you have questions regarding internships within your major? If you don't know who else to talk to, I am happy to get you to the right person. So you can always reach out to me. Your academic advisor is going to be a good one if you have a required internship or if you're able to do an internship as a restricted elective. And then if you have an internship coordinator, again, if you don't know, I'm also happy to help you find that person as well if you need to. But you can talk to any of us about this and we'll make sure we get you to the right person. Do you have any advice on out-of-state internships for underclassmen? Yes, I do. Know that out-of-state internships are actually pretty popular. One thing that's great, well, I'll do this both ways. If you are a student who is from out of state, you likely have a network either back home or someplace else other than Florida, right? So you'll definitely want to tap into that and know that virtual resources are going to be your best friend here because you can start doing research on places you might want to intern out of town or out of state on places like LinkedIn, doing Google searches, that kind of thing, right? But your network is going to be awesome. And then job boards are also going to be really helpful. If you are looking to intern someplace where you didn't necessarily come from, or that you don't necessarily have a network from, you can do a lot of research online, but know that there is a much more strategic way to do it than just Google, right? So I would say that if you are looking for out-of-state internships, you can use your network here to see if anybody does know, but also use your network in terms of the resources you have. Again, I'm happy to help you do that research and to teach you how to do that research if you're not quite sure where to start. But you know, it's going to be a little bit of a different process than interning locally. But the other thing that I do want to point out here is that if you are going to maybe go out of state and you might have some living expenses or some traveling expenses or something like that, something I should have probably said way earlier when everyone else was on our presentation here is that there are some offices or programs on campus that offer internship stipends. So for instance, my office is working to establish some internship like grants or stipends for unpaid or underpaid internships in the spring, things that you can apply for. And then also if you are a liberal arts major, the Pages program on campus also has some internship money, I guess, and especially if you're traveling. So it's either for unpaid internships off campus or if you have travel expenses included with housing, travel, that kind of stuff too. So yeah, I would definitely say that that would be my beginning advice, but again, I'm happy to talk more about that too. Let's see. Do we have to make an appointment to talk to you? Good question. So I'm going to pretty soon have an appointment scheduler like all of your academic advisors do and some of the other offices on campus. We are just in the stages of hopefully getting that online soon. If you have a lot of questions or kind of big questions, I would say, yes, please email us and we can make an appointment. If you just have a really quick question, feel free to walk in, myself, Francine, and then also on this call, we have a graduate intern, Maria. One of us is always here and we're happy to answer any quick questions if you want to just come in and see us. But for anything bigger than that, if we've got a lot to talk about, definitely make an appointment. Mostly because I just want to make sure that I'm here and available when you do come in. And if you don't have an appointment, sometimes I might be out tabling or doing a presentation like this one, and I want to make sure I'm available to you without you having to come in a bunch of times, okay? I see that Maria did an awesome job of putting some of the internship coordinators in there. So for our forensic studies criminal justice question, Maria did put in Miranda's name and contact information in there. And I see she also put our engineering contact in there and our psychology internship contact in there too. So that's awesome. Thank you. Okay. All right, I think that answered all of our questions so far. So thank you. Those were all awesome. I really appreciate it. And I'm very happy that we had you all here today. We good, Mary? Oh, Mary, you're muted. Mary, I think you're muted.
I'm like, oh no, where did everybody go? So thank you, Ashley. That was great. Lots of wonderful information for the students and any staff that was on. Very helpful, especially coming into the end of the semester and preparing for the spring, and with our career fairs coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, looks like they're finished with questions, so I think we'll say goodbye. And again, thank you to you and your office for being here today. And see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks everyone for joining us.